every night.
But it's not.
Anybody who wants, this is updated version. This is better than yesterday. It's different. Yesterday was Chazdish Chaim Noam B'diavad. Tonight is 4. Those who wanted 4 options, either to do according to all the shittahs, or to do what Mishnah Berurah says, or to try and do what I do. That's the 3rd column. No, recommended amount for those who are from most opinions. It's not. You've got more than Mishnah Berurah, but less than all the shittahs, and something was not wrong.
And the second night is less good.
Yeah,
Second night, most of us aren't well.
He's got an iPhone, whoever he is.
Oh wow!
It's on that iMessage.
Might not be real answer.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Which one is it? What is it?
The advert downstairs for Chromius.
Right.
Not yet. I'll let you know.
Oh, you were looking for an answer.
Yeah.
Have you taken the shop?
I went to Kosher's and bought a box, but it doesn't look kosher to me. It just looks funny. I don't know. It doesn't look right.
Yeah, if you buy it in a supermarket, you
Yeah,
have
it
to
doesn't
go
feel
to
right.
a max amount.
China apparently have like 9.99 or something.
Is that any good?
I don't know.
Never heard of it.
Ben,
Kosher.
Ben, what one did you get?
I don't know.
Put that
On
maybe?
the name of it. It was £20.
Is it this like this thick?
Is it what? It said
Not
Walmart.
the matzah.
No,
That's
it could be the pukka. Pukka, is it? What is it? Brown cardboard?
Brownie red, yeah.
Quite crunchy. But
If
not,
it is, it's
you know,
it's
Canadian, no? Canadian?
America.
I'll take it when I get home. I'll let you know.
It's not. It's expensive because you pay for. You get 6 matzahs. Oh, really? There's more.
Zalo, Shkoyach, wow.
Where's the whiskey?
There's
You've got
more.
170
Here, I'll show you what I
more
got.
weeks.
What's this?
Sure, you've got
Oh, very
170 more
nice.
weeks to take.
So we got
Right. Have you got the ability to bring it? This is
Meister, how many weeks
Oh,
is
wow.
Meister?
this is the one.
This is what we're trying to know. This is the whole thing why you started this.
This is why I started.
That's the enemy.
That's
The enemy,
The enemy is all wrong.
Enemy.
That's
Arsenal,
Shalom.
Arsenal.
That's Shalom. It's not an enemy.
No, I know, but we might be eating.
Funny, your father never had that.
Cool, got
This-
now. Ah, too late.
Is there more cook left?
That's why we're doing this.
Don't have to be fine. Come on. Oh,
You
there's
want?
more.
Oh,
There's
sorry,
more.
there's
There's
more.
more.
Oh,
Especially for us.
This is very, very nice. But as I said, I took 2 matzahs one day. I got 2 boxes. And what happened was, one of them was half the weight of the other. So this is very, very inaccurate. You know yourself, when you get more leaves, right?
The handmade matzah, how can you call that? The matzah, you meant to have a little area enclosed.
Go downstairs.
They're completely wrong.
Yeah.
They're completely wrong.
It's not completely wrong. It's a rough estimate. This is a rough estimate. Can you keep this for
Yeah, no
Shabbos?
problem.
We need the Motzei Shabbos. We should do a demo. I'll bring the scales, but I'll get a plastic without.
In the car.
And I can bring machine matzahs, but I don't know how matzahs.
Yeah, no. In the kiddish room, in the first
Now you
couple
get
of
handbag. Now
Get
you
lucky. I'll get you the cheaper.
Right.
get your box handbag.
Very good. So let's do something now. So
No, not enough money in
You
it.
should get in the market.
Not enough money in matzahs.
Not enough money.
What kind of money? If you want people to count it.
And 34 the box.
All about
I'm not making a penny profit. Like what Fox say, when it comes to pays up, we don't make a penny
Yeah, of
profit.
course not. Of
We
course
should
not.
do Max's open box.
Right,
That's
well,
really good.
I made no profit. Break up. I made no money.
We made more money that one night, Yehuda, than a whole month.
When?
Who's
Don't
open
open
the
that
door?
night. Rubbish.
Why is
Come on,
that?
Sean.
It's not worth it.
Why is it not worth it?
What's the face up?
And you
Sure,
can't
so-
do COVID,
thank you very, very much,
You
Tolly,
half
for 20,000.
So what's so good? Is that okay to use on Pesach night or not?
Right, what we'll do is we'll compare the scales to that, and then that'll be the litmus test to see how accurate
If
it
it
is.
is right or not.
All right, this is much more exact.
Hold on, where were you?
Obviously, because you did it, it'll be other.
No, no,
Because
Which I've done in digital. They do it as well. They do all of them.
some of them more. But actually, I just now, because I want to say, I see the Mishnah Berurah Dilshu discuss this difference about the matzah and the lettuce, different weights.
Because of the water.
Yeah.
The whole thing comments. Everybody would come
That's
to
right. Right. Okay, we're up to Daf Gufyud Beis Amud Aleph Tanu Rabbanon, about about a third from the bottom. No, more than 4 lines for white lines. Halfway through the white lines. Tanu Abanon Shiva Dvam. It's a gadata, but we have to get. Tanu Abanon Yehuda. Am I giving you a shirt tonight at 9 o'clock? Right. Yes. Okay. I'm prepared.
It'd be funny if he wanted them, he would be prepared.
No, it's about to prepare for myself. Tanu Abanon Shiva Dvam. 7 things. Tzivu Rabbi Yeshua. Tzivu Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Yeshua Benoi. Rabbi Akiva taught his Rabbi Yeshua his son. There's a big difficulty over here. Is that Rabbi Akiva taught his son Rabbi Yeshua. What was Rabbi Yeshua's name? So Rashbam says he was called Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha. Why was called Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha? His father was Rabbi Akiva. Says the Rashbam because Rabbi Akiva was bald, right? And Kireach means somebody who's bald. So therefore, if somebody would say to you, who's Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha's father, what would you answer him? Who was Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha's father? What was his name? Rabbi Akiva, again. Again, Rabbi Akiva told his son Rabbi Yeshua. Says the Rashbam, what was the name of Rabbi Akiva's son? Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha. Asks the Rashbam, how can you call Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha? His father is Rabbi Akiva. Answers the Rashbam, because Korcha means bald, Rabbi Akiva was bald. So somebody said to Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha, what was his father's name? Rabbi Akiva.
He was also bald.
He was also bald, but that wasn't his name.
It's hereditary.
Nickname.
Look at the Rashbam. Okay, I can see you don't believe me. Oh, that's what I wanted somebody to ask finally. Let's see the Rashbam. Rabbi Korcha ben Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva Kirecha. Fake tesis. Siva Pilsh Rashbam. Rabbi Shimon Korcha Akiva Kirecha. Test tesis. Ve'inira she'agmor kurius ben Korcha derech kenai. That's not a very nice thing. Forget Elisha was bald and somebody called him bald and he died for it. It's for the Malachim, that was the people. Why did they call him? Do you know why they called Elisha bald? Why would they know it in him? There was a town where they had no water, and Elisha made a bracha that would be new springs of water. The people who made a lot of money out of hoarding water were annoyed with him, and they said, "Get out of here, you baldy," and they all died. So you see that speaking somebody derogatory is not good. Says Tosfos, the word does call him bald. There, once he was called bald by Benazai, that's a joke, but of course he wasn't called like that. And we showed him all discuss this on and on. Why was he called bald? Bald is something that there's no, what's the word for it? The hair is considered, was chitzonius, and he didn't have that, he was all pneumistic. But Rabbi says, Machlekes between Rashbam and Tosfos, as the word of Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha was the son of Rabbi Akiva, that's the Rashbam Shitta. Tosfos was completely different Tana. So he told his son 7 things. What was the 7 things he told his son? Al teishev beguva sheliva tishna. Don't sit at the top of the city and learn. Why? Because you'll get disturbed. The top of the city was a viewpoint. I don't know if you ever go to Eaton Park. Well, now it's probably closed off, but it's like a little hut. No, after the whole wall, you go higher. There's like there's a very nice word for it.
It's that building, like a temple.
Yeah, like a temple, but don't call it a temple. Call it something else. And you stand, it's the highest point for hundreds of meters, like for kilometers around Manchester. No, there's a word for it. No, it starts with P, if I remember correctly. But anyway, you go there and sit and learn, you'll get disturbed. Go to a quiet spot to learn. But I told you, don't go to a city where the leaders are Talmidei Chachamim. This is very strange. What's wrong with going to a city where the mayor is a Talmid Chacham? Says the Rashbam. Talmidei Chachamim don't get involved. They're very spaced out, always learning. And because they're always learning, they don't take care of the city. So don't live in a city where its leaders are Talmidei Chachamim. I once heard the story that I went to speak to the person that happened to confirm. He told me, yes, exactly this is how it happened. That he was invited to learn Ron Govitz Friday night. And in the Rebbetzin, Ron Govitz's wife brought in a plate of cake. Bach comes to learn, it was all the Bach. And Ron Govitz had a piece, then another piece, and the Bach was too embarrassed, and Ron ate the entire plate. After it was finished, he said to the Bach, "Actually, you can be me without a michyo, because I'm not sure if I ate it because I is."
And that's what the lady is saying. He doesn't classical music. The same rest of the legend realized there's late on the radio.
Yes. And my son told me that this poem, he went to like Gedach Bochum, went embarrassed, and go from place to place get more wine. So one of the places he went to get wine was a Bavumi Aaron. Yeah, this year. I know he was.
Good behavior.
It's not
Good
unusual.
It's an actual moment. Anyway, what happened was we went to Bavumi Aaron. So Bavumi Aaron said to him that a couple of days earlier he had gone to learn Bavam, and his granddaughter had popped, his son had come to visit him with a few little children. So a little girl, about 2, 3, went in the middle of Bavam learning and sat on his knee. And he was very disturbed. Felt that it's very not right. Anyway, at the end of the learning, Bavam Govitz came out. And he turned around to his granddaughter and said to her, "And why didn't you come and say hello to?" He had a notice. was very impressed. That's the idea. So you can't have a leader as a Talmid Chacham because you won't get the bins taken out. He will be too busy learning.
People say, why don't the Rabbanim stand up and do this? Because they're sitting and learning.
Sitting there and don't notice. That's the Rashbam's Mahalach.
That's why.
The Ben Yehuda, the beautiful Sefer, who are the Ben Yehuda? Ben Ish Chai, who lived in Baghdad. And he writes 3 other explanations as to what is wrong with living in a city where the leaders are Talmidei Chachamim. One he writes away to the side. One is like this. He says that if the leaders are Talmidei Chachamim and you are Talmid Chacham, they'll appoint you leader. And if they appoint you leader, you won't be able to learn as well. So don't go to a city where they choose Talmidei Chachamim as leaders. Go to a city where they choose. Another reason he says is the derech of a town is to hate the leaders. People always have issues with the leaders. And what happens is, I remember because we are mayors and everybody gets positive. What happens is like this: if a Talmid Chacham is the leader, so what happens is they hate the leader, and then they won't listen to the Chachamim when they give Shiur Torah. So it's not a good system. Better to have 2 separate offices, one for the mayor. And finally, he says, after the Chachamim become leaders, a leader has to behave in a certain manner of wealth, right? He has to have a nice carriage, he has to have a nice home, and it's not good for the Chachamim to live in luxury. So that's why. So 4 different reasons. I'll forget you tomorrow. So what the 4 reasons you shouldn't live in a city with head to the Chachamim. But the Kodesh Beis Chapisse, we shouldn't go into somebody else's house, into your own house suddenly. It always disturbs me. And I see people going to somebody else. I see it sometimes. People don't knock nice. It's wrong. Go to somebody else's house. You knock, even if it's your parents, your children, your brothers, your sisters. You knock when you come into somebody. The Bible says it's not a nice thing to do. Because the Rashbam says, because sometimes they're busy. Because sometimes they're busy doing something private, you just barge in. Anyway. You should always wear shoes. Well, later says it's very important to wear shoes. We'll see. You should make sure to eat breakfast in the summer because it's heat. Protect you from the heat. In the winter, it will protect you from the cold. Make your Shabbos weekday. The battery is running low. Is it not plugged in?
Maybe.
No, a second. See, leaders. Is it not? Is it maybe it's not plugged in there? Is it plugged in? Very good. Yes. Oh. Make your Shabbos a weekday, but it's shouldn't people. It's not good to take from people. Try and join a business with somebody who's doing well in business. Everybody here doing well in business, it's good to join them in a partnership. Omar Papa. Not that you should buy from him, you shouldn't sell to him. Why? Anybody explain why? Why shouldn't you buy or sell somebody who's doing well in business? Because if he's doing well in business, he'll get the better half of the deal. Obviously, Hashem at that time is trying to give him success. So don't buy a property from him or sell a property from him, because if you do, you're going to end up. They become a partnership. To put him here, if anybody takes a penny from here, would have success. Just getting money from a person who's doing well is also good. I mentioned this before. I always get to this. There's a beautiful, beautiful book called Behind Nice Curtain, and she describes all the different souls that she writes, amazing stories. And one of the stories she writes that there was somebody, Russian fellow, who would give her money and say, because Jewish people are blessed, and I see whenever you give me money back, I have more success. So don't worry about paying me back. It's an interesting thing. Anyway, it says, well, 5 things Rabbi Akiva taught us Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Kiva was locked up in prison. Why was he locked up in prison? Teaching Torah. Very good. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai said to Rabbi Akiva, teach me Torah. I can't teach you. I'm not teaching. If you don't teach me, and I'll tell my father, Yochai was a very important person. He did very well in business. And I'll tell my father, and he'll get you to suffer. Everybody asks questions on this. First of all, he was already in prison, so what difference does it make? What could he tell his father? And secondly, is that a way to speak to Rebbe? Shimon ben Yochai's main members of Rabbi Akiva. Regarding the first question, Marshawn and others say, 2 explanations. One explanation is that he'll slander you about a worse crime than teaching Torah. Alternatively, at the time, the Romans would not tax Talmidei Chachamim, only normal Yidden. And he said, I'll tell my father Yochai to tax Talmidei Chachamim, something that Shiur Akiva won't want. That's the first question. The second question is, how could you speak like that to Rebbe? The answer is, because he was so desperate for Torah, that's why he said, you've got to teach me Torah. There's a Sefer called Darkim. Moshe brings from on the back, so it's the Rav, the time of the Chafetz Chaim, who says this famous word. And you say to me like this: if you don't teach me Torah, don't think that I'll just become an ignorant person. But when a person stops learning Torah, he loses all ability to become a decent human being. And if you don't teach me Torah, I'm liable to become the kind of person that will be moise you to the malchus. The worst kind of person exists in Yiddishkeit is a moise. You're allowed to kill a moise. Meant to kill a moise. It's mitzvah to kill a moise.
Even nowadays.
Even nowadays. So he said, you should realize that if you don't teach me Torah, that's what I'm going to end up being. It's a very famous word. Oh my Lord, so Kiva said to Bini, my son, more than a calf wants to suckle, the mother wants to nurse. It's not that I don't want to teach you Torah. I want to teach you Torah more than you want to learn. Oh my Lord, sakana. But who's going to die if they don't nurse? Not the mother, but the egel besakana. We're having an argument. Who's more desperate to learn? Kiva said, I'm more desperate to teach you. Shunachai said, if you don't teach me, I'll die. If you want, this is if you he says to him now 5 halachas. In Bekashto Lichonik, if you want to strangle yourself, he told me on God, go and hang yourself on a big tree. Many mafarshim. The basic explanation is as follows. The Shbam says, if you want to teach a lot of Torah, you want to stand the emes, you've got to have a big Talmud Chacham that you learned from, because then that way, when you quote him, people will listen to you. The mashal is, if you hang yourself on a low tree, you may not die, because what will happen is your feet will be dragging on the floor. So therefore, you have to go to a tall tree. But the idea is, if you want to make a stand, make sure it's a real stand. That's what he was trying to say. And if, for example, let's say you go to somebody, somebody said, if you say, said, somebody said, what happens is you've got a big stand. When you teach your son, I'm there with Sefer Mugga, teach him from a Sefer which is properly edited. Mahi. When you learn the first time, when the person learns Torah the first time, then what happens is he has to learn it correctly. Anybody knows somebody that was taught incorrectly, terrible effects? No? Yomi ben Tzvuya's Rebbe taught him, Timcha is Zocha Amalek, you should kill the males of Amalek. So when Yomi went to war, he killed only the males, and he came back to the Amalek and said to him, why did you kill the males? So he said to him, that's what Rebbe taught him. So what did Yomi ben Tzvuya do?
Kept someone alive.
Oh, sure. So Yomi ben Tzvuya came back and killed this Rebbe, because he taught him incorrectly. Because he teach.
Why did they teach him like that?
Was he right to do that?
Well, he did. Maybe he taught him.
Remember, you mean?
Was he right to kill his Rebbe?
Yeah.
Well, he taught him wrong. Possible.
Rebbe would probably know the difference between Zeich and Zoch.
The Rebbe taught. Then actually, this asks, did he actually teach him incorrectly, or just was he not careful to teach him correctly? Just
I was
philosophically.
going to say, is that why we don't say that? Why do they say
No, that's Zecha and Zecha.
Why
Okay,
do they do that?
that's because we're not sure about the dictum. Okay, but definitely it's not Zoch. Let's go into all. Don't cook with a pot which your friend